to,
Mm.
but you can never tap.
Yeah.
They write better than you do. Pardon? They write better than you do. Yeah, yeah. No, I think appropriate, whatever is appropriate.
Mm.
But you can never tap.
Yeah. All right, let's see.
Tommy's treatment started today.
Is it the first treatment?
Yeah, this one.
All right. Is that yours?
Yes.
All right. For a nice payment, you might get it back.
I'm practicing relinquishment.
Okay. So no payment is expected. All right. Oh, I could have given it to you.
Is it a clear one? Is it clear crystal? Yeah, nice.
All right. Obeisance.
Oh, I've got to bring up that name.
Guru and protector Manjushri holds in his heart in scriptural text symbolic of these things, all things as they are, whose understanding shines forth as the sun unclouded by defilements or traces of ignorance. 60 ways with a patient love of Father for his only Son. All creatures caught in the prison of samsara, confused in the darkness of their ignorance, overwhelmed by this use, drowning in thunder, proclamation of the Dharma arises from the stupor of our delusions, frees us from the iron chains of our karma, whose powerful sword of wisdom fused our suffering wherever its sprouts appear, clearing away the darkness of our ignorance. And Trichoma Joshu, princely bodies endowed with the 112 marks of a Buddha, who has completed the stages achieving the highest perfection, Bodhisattva, who has been pure from the beginning. O Manjushri, O loving one, with the brilliance of your wisdom, illuminate the darkness and close in my mind, enlighten my intelligence and wisdom so that I may gain insight into the Buddha's soul, text that explain them. Refuge in Bodhicitta. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the highest assembly, accumulations of God through proximity. May I attain the state of a Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest assembly, accumulations of God and teachings. May I attain the state of a Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest assembly. Accumulations of God. May I attain the state of a Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. Sorry?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So, we started yesterday with the 25th secondary offense. Let's maybe begin with completing the explanation of the 25th secondary offense, and then make a few points about what we've covered today and yesterday, and then if we'll have some time left at the end, we'll cover the next secondary offense. So let's put it again on the screen. If you embrace and do not try to dispel any one of the 5 obscurations that hinder concentration, it is a secondary offense of not acting to purify the obscurations to absorption. The 5 obscurations that hinder concentration are 1, excitement and regret, 2, ill will, 3rd is drowsiness and dullness, or you can say lethargy and sleepiness. The 4th one is yearning for sensory objects, and the 5th is doubt. So yesterday we spoke of excitement and regret. there are hindrances to absorption in the sense that when we're trying to cultivate a single pointed concentration, to develop an absorption, I think that we have the two main faults are excitation and mental sinking or laxity. So some of these faults that we encounter here fall in one of those two camps. So sometimes you can say that even they can fall in those two camps, depending on which perspective you take. But with the first one, with excitement and regret, the hindrances for developing a single pointed mind. So with excitement, it's quite clear. When you have excitation or restlessness in your mind, it prevents you from, or it hinders the development of a single pointed concentration. Regret is explained from a Buddhist perspective. In the text of Mind and Mental Factors, there's a changeable mental factor. So here we take that to be regretting virtues in general. So if you regret virtues, that regret becomes non-virtues. That's also a hindrance to concentration. So this is what we've covered yesterday. Now the next is ill will or malice. I think that that's quite clear. It's also a hindrance to concentration. I think that probably we know that on the basis of having experienced ill will, I think that probably most of us, if not all of us, have had a few occasions of harboring a sense of ill will. It doesn't have to be kind of really intense. It can be just sometimes even slight. But I think that based upon a personal experience, we know that it's a very unsettling feeling, and your mind is disturbed. And so long as that there's unsettling disturbance in your mind, your single-pointed concentration will be hindered. So, sorry?
I said, this is true.
This is true. No, I remember that, even, I've been here, it doesn't have to be here. I've been, trying to practice meditation for however many years. And sometimes, my mind is agitated. It is agitated by events that have occurred throughout the day, either directly to me or, that I heard in the news or that happened here or somewhere else. And sometimes your mind becomes disturbed and kind of you think that, the person should get what they deserve or someone should say something and so forth. And there is, I think, sometimes that sense of, at least in my mind, kind of, even if it's not like really full on ill will, sometimes the feeling that, may they get what they deserve, kind of, so to speak, unfortunately. And then, it is a unsettling mind in one's meditation. Kind of, I feel that with this state of mind, it's really difficult to become centered in one's meditation.
All I kind of know is that Varanasi, my first experience of India, 4 or 5 years ago now, 5 years ago, and it was my first experience of India. I went to Varanasi and I stayed at an ashram, and I really tried to drop any expectation and just to experience it all as a dream. So that was my attitude. And my first experience was that I was walking this amazing ashram. They're so ancient, and the bells and the Hindu things. And I rung this bell. And next thing, this Baba sort of comes bounding out at me and just treated me like a queen, And my experience went on from there for about 2 weeks, where I was just anything I wanted or anything like that, and he really sort of looked after me in many ways. And, I look back at that now, and really he was just taking advantage of me, totally just, and at the time it was amazing. And I was just sort of flowing along with it. But, here I am. And the reason I really, because I was just thinking about it in my meditation, here I am trying to do something, and this comes back into my mind thinking, oh my God, I was such a, so naive in some ways. So, like, what were you thinking to allow this just to go on like it did for the time that it did? It's just, but yeah, and it's interesting how
it's unsettling, isn't it?
It is unsettling,
and it is
just how things like that pop up in your mind when you want to meditate. That's more to the point.
Even more so when you want to meditate.
Exactly, more
Yeah.
so.
So, I'd say that probably ill will come in the camp of excitement, although, it is very different to excitement because excitement is classed under, under the umbrella of attachment. Still, you can say that of those two main hindrances of your mind becoming restless or excited or laxity, then ill will probably come under would be affiliated with excitement. All right, so the next is drowsiness and dullness, so lethargy and sleep. I think that we're all familiar with that in our meditation. At least I'm very familiar with that, falling asleep in our meditation. So lethargy, so both lethargy and sleep are, again, mental factors. So lethargy is that heaviness of body and mind that renders your body and mind to be inserviceable. And that brings about sleep. I think that all of us are familiar with that, how kind of, body and mind become lethargic, become heavy, and sooner rather than later, sleepiness sets in. So sleep is another mental factor that is regarded as a changeable mental factor, which means that sleep can be virtuous, non-virtuous, or neutral. I mean, it's less relevant to this explanation of an hindrance to concentration. Sleep in general is a hindrance to concentration. But also, just on the side, we can say that when you go to sleep, if you go to sleep with a virtuous state of mind, thinking of bodhicitta before you go to sleep, and it affects your sleep, then sleep as a mental factor becomes virtuous. Whereas if you go to sleep angry, agitated, and so forth, your sleep, the mental factor sleep, can be affected by that to be non-virtuous. So that's the third hindrance. Then we have yearning for sensory objects. That's a big hindrance. You can say that it is connected with excitement in that yearning for sensory objects and excitement, both of them come under the umbrella of attachment. But I think that yearning for sensory objects, sounds and smells and so forth, are things that all of us are familiar with. Kind of how many times in your meditation you had a thought that I could really have a piece of cake now, or meal, coffee.
Exacerbated by meditating in a place where they're cooking next door.
Yeah.
Or they're playing music next door, or anything else.
It sounds like that's part of your daily experience.
I was just very grateful that they spoke Greek because I couldn't understand Greek.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Oh, so it's not here. Not to eat late. Well, when you look at the explanation of how to develop flawless concentration, Lama Tsongkhapa in Lama Rinchen speaks about following a mundane path and following a supramundane path. So following a mundane path is developing a calm-abiding meditation, single point concentration that is found also outside of the Buddhist tradition, where in some Indian traditions, for example, there is a focus on cultivating samadhi. And what Lama Tsongkhapa says, I haven't had any discussion about it with Indian Babas or Indian practitioners. So the only thing that I can say is how it is presented from a point of view of Buddhism. So they say that outside of Buddhism, from what perspective, then you look at the faults of the lower levels, and you develop an appreciation of the higher level, which is kind of, you look at how, for example, we exist in the desire realm. There are many faults to the desire realm. Our mind is constantly agitated. There's constant sense of attachment, sense of discontent. It brings about suffering also because of that we go through coarse states of suffering, birth, sickness, aging, and death, that although all sentient beings within samsara experience, still, or most of them, still within the desire realm. So these are the faults of the desire realm. And the higher realms, the form realm and the formless realm, has those aspects of peacefulness. So if you become attached to sensory objects, it hinders your concentration. Develop a higher realm mind. Actually, the attainment of calm abiding is simultaneous. If it's the first time that you do it, it is simultaneous with the attainment of the access to the first absorption, which is above the desire realm. So long as you have attachment or clinging or that intense yearning to things that belong to the desire realm, which are objects of the senses, for that long, it will hinder your development of concentration. So it's good to not only remind yourself that, you know, when those thoughts in the meditation arise, that those are the things that keep us back. It's good also to remind yourself of the faults of samsara, the faults of attachment, and so forth.
I mean, you started that off with following a mundane path.
Yeah. So
It's still within samsara.
yeah. So outside of the Buddhist tradition, the practices of samadhi are not aiming at emerging or breaking out from samsara, or even if you have some Hindu traditions that say that the attainment of the attainment of samadhi is what will take you out of samsara. From a Buddhist perspective, so long as you haven't developed renunciation, and so long as you haven't developed the correct view, even if you have samadhi, even if you have a single point in concentration, you're still within samsara. So you have a non-Buddhist, you could say, method for accomplishing shamatha, calm abiding, but without wisdom and method, you'll be following a mundane path for the attainment of samadhi. Whereas from a Buddhist perspective, there's a supramundane path in which kind of you attain samadhi, but that's just a mean. There's a means for then pairing it up with wisdom, so that using the combination of calm abiding and special insight would be able to develop the actual antidote to ignorance and thereby emerge from samsara. So that's a supramundane. That's an explanation that follows a supramundane path.
So basically, we are just aspiring for that supplementary path at this stage.
No, I think
You might, others may not be. I can't see the realization, but, you know, generally speaking.
No, we're still kind of, all of us are aspiring for supramundane path, in the sense that to begin with, our motivation is not involved with just attaining the state of calm abiding, because we think that if we attain calm abiding, that would be freedom from samsara. Also, meditation on calm abiding doesn't really involve with mainly looking at the faults of the desire realm and thinking that only if we attain a higher realm mind, then we'll attain the state of peace. Our rationale for attaining the state of calm abiding would be, there could be actually different reasons combined together for attaining calm abiding. First of all, it is because we want to have a stable mind that will be combined with a realization of emptiness, so that using calm abiding and special insight will have the remedy for ignorance. So I think that's the main point. But also, I think I've mentioned before that a teacher said in his Lamp on the Path of Enlightenment that if you want to benefit other sentient beings, you need to attain clairvoyance. In order to attain clairvoyance, you need to attain calm abiding, shamatha. It's not that if you attain shamatha, you'll have immediately all the clairvoyances. You still need to attain, first of all, calm abiding, and then you need to do some practices in order to attain calm abiding. To attain clairvoyance. What those practices are, I don't know. I've never had teaching about what are the specific things that you need to do in order to attain those clairvoyances, but it's not that you get them automatically, or at least not all of them.
Are you talking like?
Okay. But also on top of that, it is said that the best level to generate an Arya path is the fourth absorption, So we have the form run, the first, second, third, and fourth absorption. So the fourth absorption is said to be the best basis that we can go on and generate a true path.
So that's formless run.
That's the form run.
It says formless before absorption.
Well, we have 4 absorption for each one, no, for the form run, and 4 absorptions for the formless run. So the 4th absorption in the form run is the best basis for developing, within the form run, is the best basis for developing a true path, which is also why we need to attain karma abiding, because unless we attain karma abiding, we're not going to attain absorption. So the first time that we attain karma abiding, we attain an access to the first absorption. So there is more refinement that is required in order to attain the 4th absorption.
You certainly know the talk.
Sorry?
You know the talk.
Yeah, but I don't walk the walk.
I bet you're trying.
Yeah, I'm trying, but I haven't walked the walk yet. And I haven't walked the walk yet because of, maybe you can say because of doubt, the next hindrance. That's part of it. I guess that you have other hindrances for concentration, such as laziness. Yeah. But anyway, here in this list, we have doubt. Like laziness, actually, laziness was a previous secondary offense, right? Not seeking the meaning of absorption if we don't do it out of laziness and so forth. So doubt. We could have 2 types of doubts. We can have doubts with respect to concentration or the means to attain concentration. Doubt in general is a kind of, you can say that it is like a 2-pointed mine. It's like a needle that has 2 heads or 2 tips that cannot sew. You cannot use in order to sew a particular cloth. Also, with a mind that is not single-pointed, that has those kind of entertaining 2 alternatives, you're not going to be able to develop that single pointedness of mind with respect to one thing. So you can have doubt with respect to concentration in general. Like, for example,
But in the effectiveness of concentration and breaking through.
Yeah, I think that probably here you can have different points that you can doubt. Like, for example, is concentration really going to give me all those great qualities? Is it really the way to move forward? Do I really need concentration paired up with, do I really need concentration in order to develop special insight? Or you can say, you can also have concentration. So you can also have doubt with respect to the method for attaining concentration. Like, for example, Lama Tsongkhapa says that if you want to attain karma abiding, you need to first of all resolve your object and to stick with that object, not change your object, but stick with that object until you attain karma abiding. So I guess that one doubt could be, is it really necessary? If I decide to meditate for 2 weeks on this object and then 2 weeks on the other object, I think that maybe it would be fine. So that's, I think, a doubt with respect to the method of meditation. So that's doubt with respect to concentration, but you can also have doubt with respect to the object. Like, for example, if you choose, sorry? Yeah. You started with meditating on the Buddha image, and after a week, when you find that it's really hard, you think that actually many people do it on the breath. Maybe I should go and meditate on the breath. Yeah. So, sorry? Yeah, so Kate is saying that resolve object and stick with it, life-changing teaching. Well, actually, it is specific for the development of a flawless concentration, as Lama Tsongkhapa said. So it's particularly when you want to attain karma abiding. So I think that when we do Lamrim meditations every day ongoing, and our focus is just to acquaint the mind with Lamrim meditation, then we can, different meditations, we use different objects. We, for example, meditate on precious human rebirth, death and impermanence. we begin with actually the whole meditation with a way to rely upon spiritual teachers. So for example, if we combine that with Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, then we visualize Lama Tsongkhapa in front of us. We develop certain single pointedness of mind with respect to Lama Tsongkhapa. We also think of Lama Tsongkhapa in front of us as being a single entity with our Guru and so forth. Then we meditate on precious human rebirth, death and impermanence, going for refuge. So we change between different objects. But then if your goal for the time being is to meditate, to focus on calm abiding, you might include all those meditations in your daily practice, but the main focus would be on constant concentration. And so long as you practice concentration, it's best to stick with one object and acquaint your mind with becoming single pointed on that object.
Well, they often say it's good to, initially moisten the mind with those preliminary time meditation.
Yeah. Well, they say that, well, in order to attain calm abiding, you need the prerequisites. So it's not only knowing the instructions, but, it's the place, having pure ethics, having lesser desire, being more content. You also need merit and to have purified negativities and obscurations in order to do that. So these are listed down as prerequisites, but actually I think that when we think about it in a very practical way, based upon, I think, our involvement with day-to-day meditation, or sometimes periods in which we take a week break in order to go on a retreat, or 2 weeks break, it takes some time for the mind, first of all, to become relaxed, to settle into a certain routine. And when it happens, it seems that we start to kind of work with, we work our way through attachment. We think, at least, we at the beginning of retreats, I sometimes think about, did I get all the provisions that I need? What if I need more of this and more of that? It takes some time for the mind to get settled into a retreat and become less fidgety, less restless. And if there's a constant sense of desire that goes on through that, through your daily routine, it hinders the development of concentration. I remember that in one of the earlier group retreats that I participated in, we had excellent food that was constantly provided by the kitchen, including desserts. So there was sometimes when you get to, it wasn't a calm abiding retreat, it was a lumbering retreat, but still kind of in the meditation or teachings, we used to get closer to the break time, to lunch break, the thoughts about food that started to come up, what we will get today, will it be nice, what would be the dessert? I would really like, in the afternoon break, wish we had hot chocolate and some nice cookies and so forth. So
where is this retreat?
This is Lindy's retreat.
Oh, it's Lindy's?
No, in Israel, the land of milk and honey.
Lindy's retreat. She was a cook, and it wasn't hard to buy food.
Yeah.
Well, Antonio, and totally distracting and beautiful foods.
And and then we had another, kind of a while after that, I participated in another retreat, and the organizer was made a point at the beginning that the food is going to be just dal. Not terrible, but kind of not like really fancy. So that kind of it's really disruptive. Rice and dal every day. That's what we're going to get. And at the beginning, I thought to myself, where's the fun in doing a retreat like that? But actually, it was really helpful. It was really helpful in terms of not having expectations to be.
And it was all organic, grown on their farm. And very healthy, very nutritional, but you weren't sitting there going, what's so much?
Yeah.
So it was interesting, Glenn Shenson, he was talking about that when he went on retreat, it was a very plain menu. He said at the beginning it was, here we go again. But he said by the end of it, he just really enjoyed it. The food was beautiful, nothing flash, but he just sort of appreciated.
But we're saying that we're discussing that in relation to hindrances to absorption, to concentration. So yearning for sensory objects.
Somehow we got back to the sensory objects.
Yeah.
But actually on doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
The basicness of sensory objects.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the 25th secondary offense. Okay, so
this is in relation to meditating on emptiness and obstacles to emptiness, to meditating on, what was it, obstacles to
calm abiding or to absorption.
What was it? Sorry?
Absorption, calm abiding. So that belongs to a group of secondary offenses that are incompatible with the perfection of absorption.
So what number?
25th secondary offense. Okay, so we've covered yesterday point 3 in the way to train in the ethics of working for the benefit of sentient beings, looking after the mind of sentient beings and training in the conduct that is unsullied by wrongdoing. Then I think we studied yesterday in the Institute the branch or method of excellent teachings that also came up in Geshe-la's teaching yesterday, and we completed that section today. So the extensive explanation in verse,
We did verse 98 and
yeah.
And 99.
So verse 98 and then the basis of teaching. So in order to practice that, Shantideva says, for beginning Bodhisattva, you should meditate and practice on purification. So in order to train in the mind, the training of the mind, and the trainings of Bodhisattva as beginners, and it applies to us as well, purification practices are paramount, they are important. So that's the point that is made in verse 98. Then the basis of the training in verses 99 and 100, let's just briefly look at that. Whatever I do on any occasion, whether in terms of myself or others, I should make effort and learn whatever training has been taught for that occasion. There is not such thing as something that is not learned by the victor's children. That's if I'm skilling a body in this way, nothing will be non-meritorious. So these two together, I think, can be combined with mind training instructions, such as the one that you find in the 7-point mind training. Now, apply whatever you encounter, apply to meditation. So if you become skilled in the practice of Bodhisattva, basically whatever you encounter throughout the day, you know how to draw from the teaching and apply it to a particular situation. So if you encounter a negative circumstance, you know how to transform that negative circumstance into factors that are aids to the path. If you encounter something that is positive, then you use that in order to increase your compassion, increase your mind of enlightenment, increase your understanding of dependent arising, and so forth. So whatever I do on any occasion, whether in terms of myself or others, I should make effort and learn whatever training has been taught for that occasion. There's no such thing as something that is not learned by the victor's children, trained by the victor's children, except for developing the wish for our own welfare alone. So when you look at the different things, I think that we spoke about it yesterday, when you look at the different paths that the Buddha taught, there are those paths that are shared with hearers and so to realizers. We also need to train in those paths. The only thing that we need to live out is those paths that are involved with a sense of concern for ourselves, wanting to live cyclic existence for our own sake alone. All the other things, we need to train it as bodhisattvas. So these are the bases of the training. Then here, the outline said the specifics. You can also, I think that you can also call that section the purpose of these instructions. So the purpose or the specifics is dedicating the virtues for the welfare of sentient beings. Not only doing dedication, it's not simply doing dedication prayers at the end of our actions. It's more like it's saying that whatever you do, your main focus should be the welfare of others, which means that whatever practice we undertake, to begin with, it should be motivated by bodhicitta. It should be motivated by an attitude of cherishing others. When you're going through the steps of your practice, either if it's a daily activity or if it's a daily meditation, it should always be imbued with the attitude that is seeking the welfare of others. So let's look at this in the verse. Directly or indirectly, I should not do anything other than the welfare of sentient beings. Solely for the welfare of sentient beings, I should dedicate all towards enlightenment, right? So dedicating here doesn't mean only at the end of your practice, when you dedicate your virtue, but whatever we do at the beginning, the middle, at the end, directly and indirectly, should be focused on the welfare of sentient beings. It's pretty hard, isn't it? Then, so that's, that's the, you could say, a purposeful action to do everything for the sake of sentient beings. And then the second one is that one should never discard the spiritual master in the trainings of the Mahayana. So always you should think of properly relying upon a Mahayana spiritual teacher. So if you keep in mind constantly, our teachers, is honestly Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, whoever might be the teacher that you rely upon, Geshe Tsultrim or otherwise, then not only in your practice you think that my main goal is to benefit other sentient beings, you also kind of think of, I want to become, I think, like my teachers who are Buddhas in actuality, so that I'd be able to make them please through my practicing in a way that accords with the instructions, so that it depends upon that I will develop similar qualities that will be of benefit to other sentient beings. So it says, never, even in the course of my life, should I forsake a spiritual friend skilled in the meanings of the Mahayana, who abides in the supreme modes of conduct of a Bodhisattva. So that was a section of the specific, or those intended actions. Any questions? Then we have the basis one hears and reflects upon. So that being the case, Shantideva says here, and this is a part of a branch or method of excellent teaching. So keep in mind that Shantideva says he taught the 3 types of ethics, and he says, in order to make sure that you proceed in the right way, you need, as a beginner, to purify negativities and obscurations. Also, you need to apply whatever situation you encounter to the teaching, or you need to apply the teaching to whatever you encounter. Whatever you do should be motivated by the wish for others' welfare. And you also need to make sure that you keep in heart the instructions of your spiritual teacher, your Mahayana spiritual teacher. Never forsake your spiritual teacher and the instructions. We say that following a spiritual teacher is the root of the path, right? So he said that. So this is what Shantideva says. And then he says, in order to do that, you need to become very informed. You need to become learned. How do you go about and do it? You rely upon sutras, you rely upon commentaries or the shastras. So with respect to relying upon a spiritual teacher, he also says, I should train in devoting myself to my spiritual master in the manner taught in the biography of Sri Sambhava. Another training spoken by the Buddha, I should understand those through reading the sutras. I should read the sutras because it is in them that the practices appear. To begin with, I should look at the Sutra of Akashagarbha. So it's actually just occurred to me during the break as I was doing some revision that at the beginning of this module, I think that I mentioned that Geshe-la and I went down to the Gold Coast to visit a Sikkimese family, and they asked us to do some sutra recitation. So Geshe-la did most of the sutra recitation. I was kind of goofing off every once in a while, but every once in a while doing some recitations. But the one that I got to do was a recitation of the Sutra of Akashagarbha. Suddenly kind of it dawned to me that this is what I was doing a few weeks ago. And I think that I did mention that reading through the sutra, quite a few of the downfalls have appeared in that sutra. So, it was actually quite nice to think that we have the 6th session Guru Yoga, but the 6th session Guru Yoga, in listing down the 18 root downfalls, the 46 secondary offenses, it's not that kind of it is just done in a random way. There is a sutra source for that, such as, for example, the Sutra of Akashagarbha. So then when that occurred to me, I thought to myself, wait, maybe there's a translation, hold on, maybe there's translation of the sutra into English. So there's a 84,000 organization. They have a website.
I was just going to send this to you, Yeshi. I was just over visiting her, and she showed me this amazing website. I was going to forward it to you. Let me just.
Also, there's the 9 attitudes of Guru Devotion.
It's got like all these downloads.
Okay.
For free.
It's Bible Book Center.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
sorry, Bible and Book Center.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, not that one.
Sorry?
Sorry?
She said not that one.
Yeah,
No, it's not. It's not the Bible books one. It's the same one that you've got on the screen, Yaki.
All right, so that's the 84,000.
Yeah, that's correct. That's the one you're talking about. The other one that Daichin's talking about's got something else on.
Yeah. Oh, so Paul has kind of sent that link, but it seems that also here you have a list of text, so I can look at that later. But
if you give me an email.
yeah, but I started to read through that sutra during lunch break. I didn't get very much. I got only to this section, I think, but it starts in a really fantastic way. So, and here there's a summary of that. So it says, while the Buddha is dwelling in Kalatika mountain and with his retinue, an amazing display of light appears, brought about by the Bodhisattva Akashagarbha's liberating activities. As he joins the gathering, Akashagarbha manifests another extraordinary display, and the Buddha, praising his inconceivable accomplishments and activities, explains how to invoke his blessings. He sets out the fundamental transgressions of rulers, ministers, Shravakas, and beginner Bodhisattvas, and after explaining in detail how to conduct the rituals of purification, encourages those who have committed such transgressions to turn to Akashagarbha. When people pray to Akashagarbha, Akashagarbha adapts his manifestations to suit their needs, appearing to them while they are awake in their dreams or at the time of their death. In this way, Akashagarbha gradually leads them all along the path, helping them to purify the negative deeds, relieve their sufferings, fulfill their wishes, and eventually attend perfect enlightenment. So, sounds like an excellent source to read. Oh yeah. Oh no, sorry. There you go. So it's.
No, I'm talking about the 84,000.
So it's 84,000 in number.co. Oh yeah, but you have the link here. So. So 84,000.co, that's the main page. And then you can look, there's a section for, I think that says resources, and you can go into the reading room and look for Akashagarbha. Right. So, Christine, what about ruptures during meditation? If these are exciting for the mind and body, but inherent to the absorption, do they need to be dispensed with or just observed with no attachment, which would seem impossible? It is related to the next secondary offense, which I think that maybe at this point in time we can go quickly to the next secondary offense, since your question is related to that. At least I feel that the question is related to that. So if you crave the bliss of concentration and consider the experience and taste of it to be an important quality, it is a secondary offense of considering the taste of concentration to be an important quality. So I assume, Christine, that when you speak about ruptures or the special experiences during the development of concentration, you refer to those events where suddenly there's this kind of sense of oozing sense of physical and mental well-being, kind of this sense of tranquility, or kind of you feel that your meditation is going really well. So it's something that is, I think, that is good to notice. But it is said that if you get too hooked on that and you want to replicate that, or you want to just stay in that state, it is a hindrance, first of all, for the development of a high level of absorption, but also it is a hindrance to the practice of the perfection of absorption, in a sense that when you look at the description of the attainment of calm abiding, there is a long definition for what calm abiding is. It is said that it is a special concentration that is qualified by this physical and mental well-being. Sometimes they call it physical and mental bliss. But Lama Tsongkhapa in the Lamrim Chema says that it's not necessarily this physical feeling or feeling of pleasure. Geshe Jameng used to say that it seems that there's that overall sense of well-being, just everything is going well. So you can say that it is kind of this special, distinguished sense of bliss or physical and mental well-being that arises out of physical and mental pliancy, in which your body and mind are completely pliant, amenable to meditation for as long as you want. So your mind is completely at will. So if you imagine how it would be like to find yourself in a situation where we could basically meditate for eons on end, there would be nothing disruptive. Your body and mind would be completely comfortable. Not only comfortable, but there would be kind of that deep sensation of well-being. It would probably be also very pleasurable, very calming, very soothing, very relaxing. I think that sometimes probably many of us have experienced something that is similar to that, probably to a much lesser degree in our meditation, when we reach this point where kind of it's just feels totally comfortable for a short time. So it is said that when you reach a genuine calm abiding, it is so addictive that you can get stuck in that place, in that state for a very long time. So if you crave that, it is a secondary offense. It is a secondary offense because, to begin with, if you think about it in terms of the perfection of absorption, you should be motivated by bodhicitta. You should be motivated by compassion. So it's good to have the ability to remain as long as you want to in that meditative concentration. But then if you get attached to that pleasure, it will keep you back from pursuing the state of enlightenment for the sake of all. Not only that, there would be, if you get attracted to the pleasure in concentration, you might even stay within cyclic existence, because you can attain calm abiding, you can attain a high level of absorption, but you're still within samsara.
I think you can get stuck in the formless realm that way, can't you?
Well, there's no, within the formless realm, there are those different absorptions. One of them is, that's the third absorption within the formless realm, that is called the one that is without discrimination. Mm-hmm. So you have, it is said that you have the discrimination at the beginning of your life in that absorption. So you think, I was born, and then for the duration of the absorption, there is no discrimination whatsoever. And there is a thought when you die, no, I'm dying, or I will die. But in between, the mind is so absorbed that there's nothing no mental process going on. So, and also you remain in that state for such a long time until your merit runs out. So you can remain for eons or for a very long time in that state.
It's a very dangerous state, really. You can just burn up so much, use up so much merit if you don't, go beyond it.
Yeah, well, this is what they say. They say that you can get stuck in that state of absorption for a long time. You consume your merit so that then when your merit runs out and you then subsequently die in that state, you don't have enough merit to be born in a good state of existence. Bang, the next state would be quite a terrible one.
That's right, back to the permanent address.
Back to the drawing board.
Yeah, that's right, back to the hell.
All right. So we spoke about the 26th secondary offense. So Jason says, what if the merit is dedicated to others, though? So this is why it's important to then, if you develop calm abiding, motivated by bodhicitta, then through the power of your, when you combine it with bodhicitta, you think that I'm going to attend calm abiding because I need to attend calm abiding in order to develop special insight. I need to develop calm abiding and special insight in order to eliminate afflictive obscurations and cognitive obscurations. So setting out this motivation and reminding yourself repeatedly of this motivation is what will cause you not to get stuck in that place, in that state, but to arise from your meditation on calm abiding and continue to meditate on other things, the other branches that you need to include in order to attain the state of enlightenment. So not only dedicating your merit is important, but also the motivation to begin with is what will keep you from getting stuck in that place, in that state. Keep on saying place. It is a state.
It seems to me, I've got no idea, spiritually, but just from what I'm learning, that when you get to the path of meditation and you go through those the grounds, all those 10 absorption, but that the post-meditative phase is just as important as the meditation time.
Well, so you have the 10 Bodhisattva grounds. They start from the path of seeing, they extend from the path of seeing through the path of meditation. So you have those 10 stages by which in each stage you eliminate a certain portion of obscurations that correspond to that stage, which means that you have an ability to eliminate that much obscurations to a certain degree of subtlety. First of all, you deal with things that are very coarse, then more subtle, but you make your way through it. In order to be able to eliminate those obscurations, you need enough merit. And this is what you do in between sessions. So you enter into meditative equipoise, where you're single pointed on emptiness. You're abandoning obscurations. And then you rise from that and accumulate enough merit for abandoning the next level of obscurations. If you don't have enough merit, you will not be able to do it. So this is what you do in the post-attainment sessions. So when we say post-attainment sessions, or when we use that term to arise from meditative equipoise, it almost sounds like you arise from your meditation and you go out and do prostrations, mandala offerings, you eat food, make yourself a cup of coffee and so forth. But to arise from meditative equipoise means to arise from a meditation on emptiness in which you have perceptually realized emptiness and you're doing other meditations. So in post equipoise, you meditate on bodhicitta, you meditate on the four immeasurables, you meditate on compassion and so forth in order to accumulate more merit to be able to abandon the next level of obscuration. So in that sense, it is crucial.
Yes. So it's just more meditation. But I guess it's because it's a sutra version, it's what Geshe Sultan was saying the other day, you're going between the two.
Yeah.
And that's critical.
Yeah. So long as we're sentient beings, we have to alternate between meditative equipoise and subsequent attainment. For a Buddha, the mind of Buddha has meditative equipoise and post-attainment as a single entity. Yeah, they're simultaneous rather than alternating. All right, so the last thing that I wanted to do is to just briefly look at, so we had here an instruction of relying upon the sutras and the shastras in order to become learned in whatever we need to do, right? So think about it. We need to purify, relying upon a spiritual teacher, apply whatever we meet, the teaching to whatever we need. In order to do that, we need to rely upon sutras and commentaries in order to know what we need to do. And then it says in verse 107, I should do whatever is not forbidden in those works. I should impeccably practice whatever training I see in order to guard the minds of worldly beings. This is also quite clear. And then finally in verse 108, we have the defining characteristics of introspection. Sorry?
The last word in verse 107, it says they will be people, but you said then, and yes, and earlier worldly beings. So I'm presuming it's beings.
So I should do whatever is not forbidden in those works. I should impeccably practice whatever trainings I see in order to guard the minds of worldly people or worldly beings. Yeah, kind of worldly beings can be also other living beings. I don't have the Tibetan text in front of me, so I will check it out tomorrow or today and let you know tomorrow. Beings. All right. Let's see. So Chucky is saying that in the other, in the translation that we looked at today in verse 107, it says to protect the minds of worldly beings. Yeah. All right. So then we have the definition of introspection. So remember that we spoke before about what mindfulness and introspection are. So here it says, investigate repeatedly during action of body and mind. Merely this in brief is the definition of introspection. The other translation says, the defining characteristics of introspection in brief is only this, to examine again and again the states of my body and mind. You can also add to that the speech, what I do, the way that I act with my body, the way that I act with my speech, the way that I act with my mind. Often they say that mindfulness is that which is remembering the object, and introspection is like the spy that constantly watches and makes sure that we do what we're supposed to be doing. So it is like a watchman, like a spy. And as we said before, the word for that in Tibetan is sheshin, or doing things knowingly. So in doing things knowingly, we have that repeated checking to say that we are, that we are doing what we're supposed to be doing. So Christine says, sorry? Okay, sorry, we read that already. So Paul is saying, might have missed this bit, but what is the significance of saying the practice of the training is in order to protect the minds of worldly beings? I think that we're, let's look at, what did I want to have a look at? All right, so we're looking at the branches of excellent trainings, which are, the branch or method of excellent training. So it comes at the tail of training in ethics, the three types of ethics. The third one, ethics in working for the sake of sentient beings. Then in summarizing this section, Shantideva says, the branch or method of excellent training is to have an informed practice. To begin with, as beginners, we should have purification practices to purify the trainings. We need to apply whatever situation we know to the training or the teachings, or the teaching to whatever situation we encounter. We need to make sure that when we act for the sake of sentient beings in following a spiritual teacher. And then it brings it to conclusion in verse 107. So all those points are brought to conclusion in points 107. So it says, I should do whatever is not forbidden in those works, sutras and treatises. I should impeccably practice whatever training and see in order to guard the minds of worldly beings. So I think that Shantideva says here is whatever I practice, whatever training I undertake, the purpose is for the welfare of other sentient beings. It is in order to guard sentient beings. So you can say that it is in order to guard the minds of sentient beings, or you can say it's in order to protect sentient beings, in order to liberate them from suffering. This is how I understand it. Let's see what the commentary says, just to make sure that I haven't got it completely wrong. Let's look at this. Khenpo Kumpa's presentation. In this manner, bodhisattvas should at all times properly practice and train in whatever action is not prohibited, but which is permitted in any of the sutras, the words of the victor, or in the treatises, the Shiksha Samuchaya and the Sutra Samuchaya. In short, in order to protect the minds of worldly beings from disbelief and to delight them, one should study and understand the trainings of a bodhisattva and practice them genuinely, exclusively to benefit sentient beings. So it seems that here Khenpo Kulpa explains that in a different way, different to what I said. So he says that to protect the minds of sentient beings, particularly, is from non-faith. So, yeah, all right. And we've covered that yesterday, and previously when we spoke of practicing in a way that you're not sullied by wrongdoing. And to not be sullied by wrongdoings would be abandoning the faulty physical conduct and lack of faith in others, the way to act when the path and so forth are being sought, and the way to lie down. So these were token behaviors that might inspire lack of faith. Sorry. Might inspire a lack of faith in others. So if the way that we behave is unpeaceful, it is all over the place, it is disrespectful and so forth, that would give rise to lack of faith. So it seems that here, both in Gyatso Dhammarinpoche's commentary and in Khenpo Kumpa's commentary, to protect the minds of sentient beings is explained in a specific way to protect them from a lack of faith and also to delight their minds. All right, let's leave it here for now. Yeah, we need Yashi to come back to us quickly. She's a master pointer. May I quickly become Guru, Lord Buddha, and lead each and every sentient being to his enlightened realm because of this merit. May the supreme jewel Bodhicitta, which has not arisen, arise and grow, and may that which is arisen never diminish, but increase more and more. In this land encircled by snowy mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Jambrezik, Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara end. You uphold the subduers more away, ascend the admirable bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Majanath victorious doctrine, who massively accomplishes magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels. Protect us, myself and others, your disciples. Please live long. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.